Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. It's Gianni, your host. It's great to be with you again on this Friday afternoon. Well, Mercury finally went direct, and in typical fashion, we saw some choppy market action as indecision gripped traders throughout the week. So let me go ahead and share my screen here so we can see how Mercury's direct motion impacted stock markets. Starting off with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we had prices go out near the highs last week, but so far bears have pretty much been in control. Obviously, Mercury went direct on Wednesday, the 18th of January, but here on Friday, seeing a little bit of a bid, but overall the Dow remains in a congestion zone near its recent multi-month highs. We also had the Sun form a conjunction to Pluto on the 18th, which impacted interest rate markets, which we'll look at in just a moment. And naturally, today is the first day of Aquarius season. So looking forward in the next week, we have Uranus going direct on the 22nd of January, which is pretty significant, especially I'm going to pull up the NASDAQ here because Uranus rules technology and it also rules breaks of support or resistance levels. And whenever Uranus is involved, you never really know whether it's going to be support or resistance broken. So let's think about the collective psychology over the past couple of weeks here. You know, we had Mars going direct on January 12th. We had Mercury going direct on January 18th. And now we have Uranus going direct on the 22nd. So a lot of planets changing directions here, and that can ultimately impact market directions because it can change the collective psychology. So we also have a conjunction between Venus and Saturn unfolding the same day as the Uranus direct motion. And then on the 26th of January next week, we will have Venus ingressing into the sign of Pisces, which rules crude oil. And so, you know, could that reignite a run in crude oil? That remains to be seen. Let's go ahead and take a look at USO, which is a crude oil ETF that we cover in the MMA monthly ETF report. Looking like it might go out near the highs of the week here. Still have a couple hours left in the trading session, but looking for some important moves in the energy market as Venus is set to ingress into the sign of Pisces next week. Also want to take a look at interest rates, starting off with the 10-year rate. You know, it talked about how, you know, we had the Sun-Pluto conjunction on the same day that Mercury went direct. And one day afterwards, rates found a low and started to rally again. So a lot of it's probably going to depend on the direction of commodities. So between Venus conjunct Saturn on the 22nd and Venus ingressing into Pisces on the 26th, we really have to keep an eye on the commodity markets here and how they might impact interest rates. Because again, if commodity prices start to rally, that's going to increase inflation expectations, and that will probably push interest rates higher. So how might that affect currencies? Well, the US dollar fell to a low on the day Mercury turned direct on the 18th. A little bit of a rebound here, but overall consolidating near the lows, and naturally on the same day as Sun conjunct Pluto, you know, interest rates and currency markets are very closely intertwined. So if rates start to creep back up, in the U.S., that could be a tailwind for a dollar rally, but for now, the dollar looks to be on the defensive. I want to take a look at precious metals here. Gold and silver having good weeks. Gold made a new high, but I'm looking at the gold miners ETF here. We still have the intermarket bearish divergence signal in effect between gold and silver, suggesting some caution here. But overall, the consolidation near the multi-month highs in the GDX ETF, which is another fund covered in the MMA ETF report, is a boon for bulls in the short term. So we'll have to see how Venus going into Pisces next week, Uranus direct, and the conjunction between Venus and Saturn impacts metals. Let's see, cryptos. Bitcoin still holding on to its gains as well. And, you know, with Uranus going direct in Taurus, we know that Uranus transiting through Taurus has been a major boon for cryptocurrencies over the last several years. And we're contending with the possibility of long-term cycles being complete in the crypto market. So if you want to know how we're positioning ourselves here at MMA, would encourage you to check out our daily and weekly cryptocurrency reports. So Bitcoin, a little extended here in the short term. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. And, by the end of the signatures next week, I think we'll have a better idea. We'll be able to update you on that come next Friday. So those are pretty much all the markets that I wanted to review with you this week. I do have a couple of announcements to share. So we just published the January edition of the MMA ETF report. So I would encourage you to check those out if you're not a futures trader and instead to prefer to trade cash markets like ETFs. You might find the ETF report interesting. Next week, we also have the MMA Monthly Plus report published by MMTA graduate Puyan Zulfagarnia coming out on the 23rd. And then 2 days later on the 25th, we have the MMA Grain report published by MMTA graduate Wyatt Fellows. And speaking of MMTA, I want you to stay tuned for a very important announcement this weekend coming surrounding MMTA. We've been getting multiple and many inquiries, so we finally have a special message for all of you that have been asking about that. Encourage you to sign up for the free weekly report that Ray publishes every weekend. It's a great complement to these YouTube videos. And of course, tomorrow, I mentioned this last week, but I'll say it again. Tomorrow, I will be doing a presentation on Saturday, the 21st of January, to be specific, with Astrology University and our friends over there. We're going to be looking at a 6 to 12 month outlook forecast on financial markets and how the outer planetary transits coming up in the next few months could send markets either soaring or crashing lower. So check that out. We do have a link for that, but you can find details at www.astrologyuniversity.com. And of course, if you want to find all of our products and services, would encourage you to visit www.mmacycles.com. So thank you so much for watching. Wishing you all a great weekend, and we'll be back same place, same time next week. Bye-bye.